no heaven above, I do it how I do it till I die. And I bet on myself on every single roll of your dice, 'cause I'm the chosen one.
I've not done films with major stars except one, which I don't want to talk about.
I'll leave it open to all. Anybody can take it. Why are you guys not working with me?
क्या धोखा हमारा, this is amazing. Hello everybody, I'm Rudrani and I'm so excited to be doing this. Of course, you are being welcomed to Zoom Speak Easy Best Director 2024 panel discussion, and it's an honor to be here. They are the magicians who create the on-screen magic, and they are definitely the most talented people of the lot. They are films that you've loved, you've enjoyed and analyzed. So of course we're going to do all of that. Thank you so much for being a part of the panel, and thank you for creating some amazing films.
Thank you.
Clap for yourself also. It's fine. What are the restrictions you feel today, sitting here in 2024, that are actually true hindrances in your craft? Sir?
I've just made one. You guys should take it.
Sir?
I think the day we stop calling what we make content, I think we will. Yeah, it's not a cardboard
Fair.
box in which we put things and we
Fair.
unpackage. It is, you're creating, you're telling stories. You are making movies. You're making series. It's not putting all that into that one content box. So first, if we do that to start with,
Okay.
the rest, I think we're
okay?
good enough. Yeah, we're good enough. We're good enough to keep evolving, to keep working. This is very limiting. That everywhere we go, people say, "Okay, the content creator industry. It was never there. I don't know what this content is."
Right.
Okay, fair enough. Kabir, what's your point?
I agree with him totally, but also I think each time comes with its own sort of restrictions, and as creators we have to navigate the restrictions that come. So I don't think we can ever sit and say, okay, this is a situation where I am in where I can make anything I want. Ultimately, as creators, we have to recognize what restrictions come with sort of different times, and you have to navigate that. We've seen that the world over, that sometimes navigating those restrictions can actually create the greatest art. Like in Iran, a man is not allowed to touch a woman, yet the best love stories come out of Iran. So I think as creators we can't sit and complain about the times. We have to, at the end of the day, we are reflecting the times we are living in, and we have to do that through art.
Fair enough. Vikram?
I agree with Hansal in the fact that the content is and even though yes, from an audience perspective, a YouTube video and a streaming show is in a way the same thing, but yes, it's kind of hurts a little bit, especially when you come from the movies, to be able to sort of say, I mean, 10 minute ka YouTube video nahi bana. It's just that. I think, as always, and I think that the industry has a bit, like ups and downs of that. But my constant sort of like complaint or whatever for the last 30 odd years has been ambition. I just feel that there's always a sense of like there can always be more ambition in the industry to go, whether it's from creators, whether it's from producers, whether it's from studios, whether it's from actors, anybody else. The ambition to actually go out there and do a little bit more than what we're already doing. I feel that in first phone calls only you're like, yaar, ye karna hai, lekin ye nahi karna. You know what I mean? But why are you already sort of like putting those limits on something at every level? I just feel that if we take away some of that, we're able to say, let's try for hitting the sixer, na yaar. Why are we trying to not do it? Matlab fail hua to caught, when someone will be caught, but at least there's a chance of us, doing something magical every time, as opposed to being putting a ceiling.
Yeah, I feel, as an actor also, I realize, I've just made this one film, but I feel with creators now more so, like whose voice is it that you're watching? Like who's going to take complete responsibility for that? And I believe it should be the makers, the director who's kind of the captain of the ship to kind of say. But there are so many factors that go into making a film, right from casting, and then again, like he said, there's so many hindrances of ye nahi chalega, wo chalega, and then you make a cut, then you show it to so many people, then everybody has their feedback. Some is whether you can take it or not, but some feedback is like you have to take it. And then you have the other
Yeah.
ways of, where the focus groups happen and then some maths and science diagrams are shown to you, like, this peaked here and this went down there. So I often wonder that when you finally see the product, whose voice is it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's not. So I would rather, as a creator, feel that I should know if I have been successful or if I have failed in my voice.
Correct. Good or bad, it's yours.
Otherwise, I don't know if this is good, was it mine? If this is bad, I don't know if it was mine. So nobody actually takes onus or full responsibility of that.
Yeah.
So I think those are the problems that I'm sure everybody is dealing with, and we are also navigating through it.
Fair enough. Please excuse my voice. It's a bad time, but Kiran also was supposed to be a part of the panel and she sends her apologies. My question to you, Vikram, is the fact that I remember when you were doing, or when you were talking about, making Lutera, and you were in that phase, and you always said that Lutera was also a way for you to say that I am more than this indie bracket that you guys have put me in. But you also never seeked the validation from that part. Tell me why that phase was important for you. How did you navigate through that? Because it was interesting. Suddenly it was like, Vikramaditya ye bhi kar sakta hai. He's not, you achieved what you wanted to, for sure.
No, that was a deliberate sort of like move, because what tends to happen is that we will, and I'm sure it's happened to every filmmaker over here, is the fact, I'm sure Kunal right now is probably getting 5 scripts about comedies. I guarantee it, right? Because that's what, when you do. So I got so many ideas for family dramas after Udan that I was like, nahi, I need to break out of this and do something. And of course the ambition at that point in time is that, yes, you believe in, whether it's naive or not, to be able to believe that there is a certain kind of purist cinema that can be made with commercial stars at that point in time. And, and in that year, Ranbir off Band Baja Bara, Sonakshi off Dabang, I was going for it. I'm like, might as well try and make this period kind of love story, but to mount it in a way that it would have been done, say, in the 50s or the 60s. And the fact that your whatever movies were there, that Bimal Roy has made a Bandhani, with big stars, or so why not? So it was that why not kind of thing, and also like, yeah, let's just try and break out of that mold. So I did it, and I think I've been doing it ever since then. It's been like just rolling.
Which comes to my next question. You did that with Control again.
Yes.
Again, it was so interesting how you use the tools to create and engage the audience. It's not been done here at all in the way you've done it, right? Tell me again, how did that excite you? And of course, the fact that people could relate to it. You knew the audience that you wanted to reach out to, and they have lapped it up.
So I think as with everything, and again, we'll all, I guess, say the same thing. There's an idea that excites you at one level, and you chase it. And you're also, of course, for me, you're chasing that with 5 other ideas at the same point in time. This is the pandemic time. There was an opportunity to say, oh, do you want to make a screen life film? Because the same producer who had done Unfriended and who had done Searching is an EP on Control, and so I was like, okay, and I love the screen life films. I love Searching. I think it's one of the true modern masterpieces in terms of a way a film can be made. So I was like, great, I want to try something like this. So me and the writer then start working on it, and you're like, okay, let's see how much this can go. It's fun, but then a moment comes when you, and especially with Control, when we sort of figured out the end of the film, now you're like, I'm really excited. Now I want to do something. So that's one part of it. And then personally for me, I've also discovered over a period of time is that the journey itself is, for me, the most fun part of it. It's not the destination. It's not that you made the film got released. It's the making of the film, for me, is the best part of being a director, honestly. It's just like, it's so joyous to create a new team, to go out there, to problem solve, to fix things along the way, to sort of like create a family and then move on, in life, and do it all over again every year and a half, 6 months, whatever. So it's just, I think the challenge of that is...
I think it was fascinating and you were incredible.
Thank you.
Yeah. Kunal, you have given Madgaon Express to me, a film that whenever I'm feeling a little low, I'm going to now go and watch it again. I feel like comedy, we were just sticking to another set pattern that we saw again. There were franchises that, continue even now, and they wanted to do that, and this came as a fresh breath of air, and also a very intelligent comedy. Kunal, when you all were sitting and you were planning all of it, I want to understand what were you thinking in your mind. What were your expectations, if you had any?
the approach to the film was never to say that, oh, there is a dearth of this, let's create it. The idea to tell stories has always been within. I've always said stories to friends and I've, over the years been saying that. So I always wanted to kind of tell a story that came naturally to me. I had never for once said that, oh, this will be so different or unique. One thing that I did consciously want to do is, because I've been an actor in different kinds of films, and within comedies also, I've done different kinds of comedies.
Sure.
And I realized when I did a film like Go Go Gone, it was very loved by a certain niche. Over the years, of course, it kind of built and it's kind of, but that's the kind of humor that I like. But it wasn't massy enough, so to say. And then I did a film like Golmaal, which is loved by the masses. But again, there are certain classes that they feel that this is not our kind of comedy. And I always felt that how could it be great to see a bridge between the two, So for me, I wanted to build that bridge between a Go Go Gone and Golmaal. So that was the only thing that I consciously said that this is the effort or the attempt of writing it. Of course, you can't constantly and consistently in every scene say ki, oh, ye wahan to nahi ja raha hai. Then you kind of instinctively start writing it.
Sure.
And I just wrote this film it got made now. I wrote it in 2014-15. And I never knew that I would get a chance to direct it. Because I thought, एक तो कहेंगे कि अब इसको लिखनी भी है. As I said, at best I'll just play a part in it. And I didn't have the courage honestly to tell somebody that, now put money behind me because I want to direct it.
Sure.
But luckily every time somebody read it, they said, why don't you say the story? And so when that happened with Excel, I was very happy and yet nervous. And it's interesting when, Vikram said this, because the journey is so empowering. And I feel as an actor, because you're waiting, right? You're in the vans, you're waiting to give your shot, so you're not engaging with everybody as much. So you're still guarded, and you can decide what you want to show to the world or not. But as a director, you're in the open. You're solving problems, you're having tempers, you're losing it, or you're laughing unabashedly, and you get through it. And I just found that really empowering. And honestly, the day I delivered that first copy was the day it felt the most emptiest, because I was like, ab ho gaya. Now of course people will laugh or not, they like it or not, that is not in my hands, but like now I'm done, I just have to watch this and wait for something like this to happen again. So honestly, I was just, I took this as a, ये तो अभी, क्या बोलते हैं कि आप, in poker they say you're free rolling, because you've done what you're doing. Here, at worst they'll be like, who asked him to do this? It's okay, I'll go back to acting. So I just wanted to be honest to what I wanted to say, and that's why I began this, because I was very clear that I want to put out my voice there. I don't want to hide behind कि मुझे ये करने नहीं दिया या इसने ऐसा कर दिया. If I've got this opportunity, I want to go there. If successful, great. If bad, okay, I'll learn my lesson from it. So I just feel proud of that, and I'm very happy that my producers stuck with me, because like I said, the kind of restrictions that are laid on you. With this Starcast, they let me go to the theatres, because I do believe that comedies, when, I don't know what is done right, but good comedies are enjoyed when you watch them with a group of people or friends.
100%.
So I got that opportunity to, showcase it like that and get the kind of love that we got for it. So I feel very blessed for that.
I spoke to Pratik, he was in my mail panel, and what he said is that everything that you did, a lot of people would assume that there's a lot of spontaneity and you let them. He told me that it was a tightrope, and he loved that. Like, you made literally comedy blocks. Made me realize that you have done your homework to the T. You are a debut director, yes, you've said it, I don't know what I'll say. But all of them have told that they have never met a director who's more confident on set. All your actors have said that about you. I want to know that prep, because your team was massively impressed. All of them, actually some of them felt like, yeah, मतलब मुझे लगा nervous होगा first day and all of that. I want to know how you planned that, because comedy blocks are so difficult to do, and you have managed to make it look authentic. So let's talk about that.
So honestly, staging and blocking is something that theatre helped me with when I was doing that.
Sure.
Because you kind of do that one go. And also being an actor and being on so many sets and doing so many comedies, I have been on different kind of sets where, sometimes on the set when you're performing it, everybody is laughing. You're also thinking, बहुत अच्छा यार.
सिनेमा हॉल में कोई नहीं हंसता.
सिनेमा तो छोड़ो, आप जब उसको फर्स्ट कट ही देखने आते हो, आप बोलते हो ये क्या हो गया, इसमें तो कुछ भी नहीं समझ में आ रहा है. And then, and every director that I worked with has in a way been a teacher, and you learn how edit and how different departments, and I don't think we respect technicians enough. I don't think we give them enough due credit and we don't celebrate them enough because it takes a team. So with comedy, if I'm doing a stand-up act, then I'm in control of delivering the joke. Now I'm good at it or I'm bad at it. But now making a film and putting that scene together is like my joke will be delivered by everybody. So that's why the tightrope is there to say that now bring your A games, give me your talent, but this is how we tell this joke. Because your voice is going to be different to mine.
Yeah.
So if I say thoda tu kar le, thoda main kar le, to joke ki to bhand bach jayegi. So, and it's only possible when the actors, and I mean he's being very humble about it, they have improvised, there's a lot that happens because I'm thinking for 5 people. As an actor or a selfish actor who's only thinking for yourself, which is great because you'll make yourself look good, and if you have the ammunition as a good actor to do that, you're going to enhance that, and then it's like a symphony come into play when the actors are there. So I thoroughly enjoyed it, but I was sure of the fact that I don't care if people on the set who are while we're filming it are laughing or not. This has to work because in the narration, if they've laughed at this joke, it has to work like that. Luckily it did.
Yeah.
A lot of it is magic also. I mean, you think of, you can plan all you want, but all of it coming together is also a little bit of grace.
Planning that talcum powder scene, as I like to call it, was it as mad as I think it must have been to plan it? Because he was telling me he kept on giving you different things till you felt like it worked. Like even the totlapan, which is what we laughed so much about.
Yeah, it's a yes and no scenario. Like I'd run that scene, but it's the longest scene in the film, and it's in this one particular place, and I was like, I don't know how will this hold and how will we go with it. There is humor, there is a friend who's coming clean about his life, there is emotion happening, then there is a fight happening, then there is this reveal happening, and then Kanchan Kumbri walks in. So I'd run that scene 1,000 times in my head. I mean, I wrote it in one go, but then when you're actually breaking down ki camera kahan rahega, kitna, kahan se kaatna and all that. So I'd run that 1,000 times, and so the first thing that we would do is we would get all the actors there. I would stage it with my ADs, and then the actors, and we would rehearse it once or twice, and then we'd go with it. It's like there's a method to that madness.
I love it. Moving on to Kabir, I think it's really not easy showing true incidents and people who are there. You have a knack for it. You've done it. We saw what you did with Ranveer and Kapil. And with Adad, it was like a whole team that you had to create. I feel like you've got it right, and I think it's a very difficult thing to do.
So there's no one sort of standard that I apply to every biopic. Like Chandu and 83 are two very contrasting stories for the simple reason that one is one of the most known stories of our contemporary history, and one is a completely unknown story.
Sure.
So the approach was slightly different, but the commonality is, especially when I'm dealing with the actors, is that try and get the persona of the character we're portraying. So like I would always tell, especially in the case of 83, because it's a very well-known character, Kapil Dev, I had to tell Ranveer that it's not a look-alike contest. Of course, we will try as much as we can to make you look like that person, but at the end of the day, let's not get stuck in that. Because if you actually are able to get that expression, the persona of Kapil Dev, what he stood for in that tournament, I think it'll come flying through. And I think, of course, Ranveer did a fabulous job, because it's a tricky one. Especially Kapil Dev is very tricky because there's a very peculiar way in which he speaks, which can easily become caricaturish. But the fact that Ranveer managed to get that, and speaking that way made you laugh, and more importantly made you cry, was, I think, the fact that shows how supreme an actor he is. In the case of Chandu Champion, this is a character which nobody knew, they'd never seen, never heard of. So all the more reason I told Karthik, now don't try and again get into a look-alike and try. I said, let's get what this person stood for. Let's get what his journey stood for. His struggle when he went through what he did, and then 40 years later when he fought for recognition which didn't come his way. And once that sort of was out of the way, and that sort of load went away from Karthik as an actor, he said, okay, let me try and create what I am understanding from you. For example, I told Karthik, don't meet Murlikant Petkar. And in 83, I told Ranveer, go spend as much time as you can with Kapil. So there were two different approaches. I told Karthik that you have to create the image I am giving you. I don't want you to go spend so much time with Murlikant Petkar. One, he's 80 years old, he's not the man he was at the age that you are trying to portray right now. And then we just sat and we sort of created this, image of a man that we wanted to portray, and then put him through extensive training, which is common for both the stories, because it's almost a year and a half of training, whether it's 83 or whether it's Chandu Champion, for Karthik to go through a body transformation like he had never gone through before, being a middleweight boxer, being a swimmer, and being a slightly pudgy wrestler in the village. I didn't want that, a wrestler in the village having six packs. It doesn't work that way. It doesn't look authentic. So it was a whole journey that we had to plan and, shoot accordingly. But I think what Karthik also managed to do is he got the persona right. I mean, he got what Murlikant stood for in his journey, why he fought so much, what he felt from the time when he was a child in the village, and how he was ridiculed for having a certain dream which was way beyond any normal person would dream, and to be able to then ultimately achieve that. So very different approaches to both the stories, yet a lot of sort of common elements that you put the actors through.
Hansal sir, Buckingham Murders for me was a film that I was in awe of. Of course, I think Kareena's character, the fact that you wanted to show different stages of sadness, of outcasts, it was very interesting. But what was beautiful to watch also was that you changed the place and the feel of the whole scene according to how the characters are feeling. It went grayer, it went darker, you could see the skies, you could see the way you placed it, and I thought it was incredible. We've seen a lot of directors do that, use the place so well that you almost feel it's alive, it's a part of the thing. I think that struck to me. Tell me, how you managed to do that, and I'm sure there's a story behind it.
There's no story. I started in October, finished in December. So the skies got gloomier as we went, and one of the things I follow, I try to shoot as much in sequence as possible. So emotionally, I give my characters, the actors, the space to build their character. That I don't start from the end or start something from the second half. I try to make it organic. That so if you've done something right now, the actor discovers something about the character as they go along. So it's that discovery. And Kareena does not communicate anything about what she's feeling. She comes and she says, "I'm ready, let's go." She's like that. But I know she's internally going through something. Grief, grieving mother. There's a process that's going on, but she doesn't talk about that process. So my job was to make that, create an environment where she could go through that whole process, and the other actors also.
Sure.
So it was, this is a film I signed before the pandemic in 2018, and it became a commitment, and until 2021 nobody wanted to do it with me. And then Kareena, we had a Zoom call and she said, "I like it, I want to do it." I had given up on the film. And then the film, so my only condition in the film is that I am not shooting a film in London where everybody speaks in Hindi and they're all Indian characters. They will speak in the language that they speak in on a day-to-day basis. I'm going to cast locally. So I used, the entire team was British. We had 3 actors and a couple of ADs from India. Entire team was British. So we sort of, the DOP wasn't fascinated by London. She found it boring. She said, "What do you like in this? We see this every day. The skies, everything." For her, it was so, it allowed her to explore the character more than, otherwise we get fascinated. "Oh, this looks beautiful, let's put the camera here." That did not happen. It became more of a personal exploration, it became more of a personal journey. And I wanted to do that. So the production designer, the production designer helped me in understanding how police stations work there. The difference between a detective and a cop. They're 2 different people.
Yeah.
So initially when it was written, our research was all wrong. That the detective was carrying a gun. And I saw a lot of, I'm a big fan of British detective shows. I said, none of these detectives are wearing a uniform, carrying guns. What is this? Then you realize that there are different departments. The detective goes to office. They wear a jacket. That's it. And I think now I can make a better British film.
I love that.
After watching this film, and that's what.
Authentic.
No, every film, for me, every film is a means to make my next film better. To try that, to try, to better yourself, to challenge yourself, because that's what keeps all of us going. That challenge, that that uncertainty. What am I going to do today, and how am I going to do it? If I feel very certain about what I'm doing, it's very boring. So I did this film also to break that. I have never done a murder mystery. I haven't done this kind of a film. There's that brooding nature which Aligarh would have had, but this was a completely new beast. Also, I'm working with a star. It's out of my comfort zone. I have not done films with major stars except one, which I don't want to talk about. But this was very pleasant.
Yeah.
This was very pleasant, and after I finished the film, I told my producer that we should make more films in UK. I want to shoot more films here.
Yeah.
It was really, we finished the film in 29 days.
Wow.
Yeah, 29 days.
Fantastic.
And very disciplined work environment, very planned, and I think the learnings I got from that I took to Gandhi, which was shot majorly outside the country. So a lot of learnings from the processes, the way people worked, I carried them forward to what I did next after Buckingham Murders. So I think that's for me, filmmaking is a constant university. I'm learning, and I'm fortunate I get producers to pay for my university.
And I was
That's a great line.
No, 100%. I want to actually congratulate you and say it's a brave move, because I thoroughly enjoyed it watching on the big screen.
Kareena is an actor whose face tells a million stories, and she doesn't know it. The beauty is that she's unaware. She wants to be unaware of what she's capable of.
Yeah.
So it's left to you to capture that. You are discovering with her. You place the camera and you are forced to go close to her. In fact, because it was to be released theatrically, India has a very silly rule of aspect ratios, that it has to be in that 2.39. Otherwise, I've had nightmares projecting my earlier films. I would have made it in a more intimate aspect ratio, because it was a very intimate film. I would have shot it in 1:8:5, but I could not do it because the producer would have sacked me or sued me.
You were not making them talk in Hindi, which really seems inauthentic. कि लंदन में सभी cops भी इंडियन ही मिल रहे हैं, हर कोई इंडियन ही मिल रहा है.
But the experience of working with those British actors, their work ethic, there was so much to learn. I mean, for all of us, the Indian actors who went there. I also had 2 actors from India and 1 chef. Ranveer Brar. So, but everybody was getting. You went for the reading. So before the shoot, we had a few days of a week of reading where everybody came. People who had even one line came for the readings, and they had done their homework. They had researched. They come. They do homework. Actors do homework, and that itself is very refreshing. They're professional actors. They do their homework. They make their notes. They come for the readings. So the actors do so much of work. Professional actors. You realize what the meaning of a professional actor is, and I think that rubbed off on everyone, on us, who were behind the camera, and also I think on Kareena. Ranveer Brar suddenly started every day. He would be walking around, memorizing, making notes, and all that. So with him, I had to only tell him, don't shake like your YouTube videos. Be still. But he did it so well. He was so convincing. Yeah, he looked so khadus. Yeah.
He did. Very, very khadus. But I was giving you a compliment. I said, it must have been difficult to be in that room and tell them, मुझे theatrical में release करना है, and kudos to Ekta also. But
it was Ekta's decision, not mine.
Yeah, and I think it's
for me, the box office is I have to go for therapy every time a film releases.
I'm sure.
So I actually leave the city, because it's you make a film. It is open to all kinds of criticism. I am also very self-critical, but the equating of a film and what it is to what it makes is prostituting what you have made, completely prostituting it, and it breaks my heart. And this is like, I've made, I think it was my 16th or 17th film, I've lost count, but every time it breaks my heart that it's it is up for this kind of equation. I mean, we've made it. The people who have invested in the film have secured the investment.
Yeah.
Without that, it's not releasing. I mean, it's no. The people who are commenting on its box office have not even invested in the ticket.
Yeah.
So I just feel that we have to get rid of that. That a good film has made 500 crores. Sorry, that is no criterion to judge how good or bad a film is.
That is why I was fascinated coming out saying, wow, you didn't change anything that you wanted to change and you released it in theatres. For me, that was the way.
No, Ekta Kapoor, the credit must go to Ekta Kapoor. I mean, she is known as somebody who interferes and imposes her ideas on a film. She let me make the film I wanted to make. I actually made the film I set out to make. Good, bad, ugly is another thing. But she let me make that film, and I have to give her credit where it's due. I mean, not she watched the film later and she got whatever shocks she had to later. But I mean, she was gracious enough until then.
No, she's been a wonderful.
She's lovely.
Worked with her in Phantom Time, Lutera and Urta Bacha. Fantastic producer. Fantastic producer.
It's fantastic. You were saying something, Kabir?
No, I think that's, for a filmmaker, that's the greatest joy. To be able to make what you set out to make is ultimately, for me also, I feel for me, success is that I'm able to make the film that I want to make. The day somebody starts saying, ye banao, that day your success is over. Then you're just servicing somebody's vision. So I think to be able to do that, and you write in this sort of times where we're living, that the only discussion is box office numbers can put a lot of pressure on. Are you sure you want to do that? Why don't you want to replicate, what you've done successfully? Why don't you make a sequel of something that you've done successfully? And that kills a lot of creativity.
People who are on Twitter, random users just say, "Yaar, teri picture to kamati nahi hai." I'm sorry. Say sorry to your daddy.
But it's tricky, right? But I'm sure you've been in situations where you had to fight for your baby. Let's call it that. कि room में हो, अब release तो करना पड़ेगा because you put in your life's effort, right?
Always. You always have to.
How have you tackled with those situations, Kabir?
You just have to stay true to what your vision was. I think, you have to fight for it, and sometimes it does become, there's a lot of pushback. But strangely, there's been these kind of situations that have arisen with some of my most successful films. My most successful film was being doubted. कि ये क्या है? ये इस zone में क्यों जा रहे हो तुम? Why are you taking the star into a zone that he's never done? Especially when you're coming off a film that, it's like, you've created the biggest action franchise. Now you want to go into a film which has no action. And imagine that film goes and becomes the most successful film for me and for the actor involved. So I think this whole conventional wisdom that the corporate distribution stroke sort of, the executives bring in can sometimes be really limiting. That's why I always feel like one should not listen to conventional wisdom beyond a point, because I think conventional wisdom also stops evolution. Because you're always then following the norms, because ye chalta hai to ye karte raho. So it's very important to be able to push as much as you can. See, nobody wants to, as Hansal said, put anybody's money in jeopardy. You have to be aware that, okay, as long as it's recovering its money and everybody is not in the red. But then, as a creator, if you're not going to push the boundaries, then you can just keep, you get one successful formula, you try to keep replicating, and there also there's no guarantee that it's going to be successful. So at least be able to tell the stories that, which make you, because you have to live with that story for a year and a half, and if you don't have that passion where you get up every day, and like Vic said, ultimately for us it's the journey. 10 years from now, 15 years from now, when I'm look back at my films, I'm going to remember the journey. The box office is a 3-day, 4-day period where, okay, you might get depressed for a month, you might feel ecstatic for a month. But when you look back at the journey you had, I today remember my films with the journey. Of course. I don't remember how much money Kabul Express made, but I remember the journey I had during Kabul Express. I'll never forget that.
Of course.
So I think that's very important.
I feel like there's, at the end of the day, they're all stories. We all, why do we want to show films? It's just a way of audio-visually presenting a story. So that's why a storyteller comes to tell the story. But I feel that the business, as and when it grew, there were so many other players that got into it. some were brokers, some were, you know, the different businesses got into that, and then this whole thing of कि ये audience इस वक्त नहीं देखना चाहती है, and I'm like, how do you decide that? It's like if you put 20 kids in a room and say बेटा आज कौन सी कहानी सुनोगे, everybody's going to say something different. You can't say कि कल horror सुनाई थी तो नहीं देख सकते, because they don't know. Sometimes audiences are like kids. We will come to the theatre, we'll watch something, and we'll be surprised that I didn't know I liked this genre, and that's why you have to give the freedom to the storyteller. Because if you're going to tell a storyteller कि आप बहुत अच्छी पिक्चर बनाते हो, वो storyteller कहता है अच्छा मेरे को इस तरह के लोग चाहिए, but इसमें तो ये story नहीं बनेगी, but आप अभी इसमें थोड़ा comedy डाल दो और ये कर दो. So now that's when you're putting the storyteller not necessarily will be a business person also, no?
Yeah.
So why are you expecting कि वो ये भी कर लेगा, कि अभी इसमें डांस भी करा देगा, ये भी करा देगा.
Star लो.
He's just pure at it, and a lot of times it's like even like when you're selling a script, not everybody understands it when they read it.
Yeah.
So sometimes you narrate it. Not necessarily is a storyteller a good narrator. He's a good person who will make the whole film. But based on the narration, you will tell him कि यहाँ पे story lose हो रही है. But वो तो आप सुन रहे हो ना. अभी इसमें BGM आएगा, कुछ होगा वहाँ पे, उधर तक पहुँचने तो दो. और some department will say अभी legal बोल रहा है ये निकाल दो. आप बोलता हूँ मैं script भी निकाल लेता हूँ यार. मैं क्या करूँगा फिर इसमें? फिर अब इस actor को लो. But वो actor लगता नहीं है ऐसा. But फिर हम पैसे नहीं डाल पाएंगे. And it's not a star's fault. I'm not saying it's any one person's fault. We've just built a business and become prisoners of that. But it will be makers who will kind of make films. They'll break the norms, and then there'll be a new standard. अभी वो ये ना एक स्त्री चल गई अब horror comedy और like he said, like I don't, even if I want to tell a, let's say, a dark serial killer film, they look at me saying ये पागल हो गया है. इसको जो अभी चल रही है, you know, there's a thing, चलती गाड़ी का इंजन क्यों खोल रहे हो? Correct. But if then you have to say कि यार I feel like honestly if I wasn't an actor, if I was debuting this, मेरा घर नहीं चलता है. You don't get paid so much for the kind of work that you put in. So I just feel the makers are anyways hanging by a threshold when it comes to it, and then they have to say कि I want to fight for the art. It's very tough because you also want to live in the times that you live in. There is an expectation कि ये तो बड़ा film बनाया ना director ने, ये छोटी गाड़ी में क्यों है? So there are so many things that you're catering to. So there are so many pressures. But if you, as a producer, I feel, and that's why I say we need good producers, because that's the dearth. That's where the problem lies. If a good producer takes away that stress from the director and lets him do what he wants to do, we will have better films and more successful films in varied genres. I feel.
Absolutely. He spoke about narration. I saw the behind the scenes. I want to say you're an excellent narrator because I was watching that and laughing.
Because he's a great actor, na? So he brought that to the table.
I know, it was just fascinating to watch.
Because I finish a narration sometimes we're like, लग गए आज तो मेरे को ही मजा नहीं आया तो उसको और वो भी सामने अरे कल तो बहुत हंसे थे आज आपका ऐसा नहीं हुआ I'm like यार it's like a theatre performance, right? That's why I'm saying a lot of people should just, the discipline is to read it because the thing is it's also open to interpretation. उसमें क्या होता है मैं अपने मीटर से पढ़ता हूँ तो मेरे लिए एक्टर ऐसे पढ़ रहा है पर डायरेक्टर ने कुछ और सोचा है. That's why you need trained people to do it. You can't say कि अभी MBA करके आया ये पढ़ के आपकी बताएगा स्क्रिप्ट कैसी है. उसकी इमेजिनेशन ही नहीं होती, उसकी ट्रेनिंग ही नहीं है.
Very true.
उसको क्या पता ब्लॉकिंग कैसे होने वाली है,
Exactly.
उसका टोन क्या होने वाला है.
It's not about the story, it's about how you tell the story.
And how you visualize it, right?
But कौन सुना रहा है, कैसे सुना रहा है, that's a big thing. But yeah, you're right about people who come with no real training to analyze a story, sitting on judgment on the stories and say this will not work and this will not work only because it's going against the norm.
There's also, I think there's the hangover of the one-size-fits-all cinema that we've had through the time when we were growing up, right? The fact that there was one screen, you were rich, poor, old, young, whatever, you had to go watch the same movie. Now the multiplexes changed that, but the mentality hasn't changed. So you're still comparing box office numbers of Buckingham Murders to but why? I'm saying there is a diversity in the movie watching audience as there is a diversity in the country. We have to respect that. I just feel that needs to be kind of like respected. We don't give films a chance to breathe at all in the theatres. Yeah, वो 2 हफ्ते नहीं चली तो निकाल दो theatre में से. वही ऐसा नहीं होता. Every film is not the kind of film that's going to perform at the opening weekend. Some films need 4 weeks to pull in. And last year we had some great examples of that actually happening, where a 12th failed because it stayed in the theatres.
True.
Got an audience. A Lapata lady stayed in the theatres and got an audience. You know, so and it's proved. So time and again you're proving it. When they stay there, it's okay. It'll take 3 weeks for it to pick up, but it picks up eventually. No? Audience hears about it. Madgaon. So
Kashmir Files.
Huh?
Kashmir Files.
Again, to the point, yes.
Yes.
When they stay, Sabarmati Report also. It stayed in the theatres and therefore got an
So we are going there. Okay.
not allowed. Can't do.
No, but I genuinely felt your frustration. I saw your story because
Frustration on what? Kashmir?
I could see your intention was very clear in that story. I mean, you're the last person to put out anything. But I could feel your frustration when that Insta story you put out, where he put the screenshot saying, "Bhai, और कितने shows दोगे पुष्पा 2 को? कुछ तो दे दो."
And सब green थे. They were all green. जितने shows which he put out,
Yeah.
if they were full, no, मैं कुछ नहीं बोलता. आप you're doing it because the audiences are going to the theatres, ना? ये सब खाली है.
And I know he would have not done it because he knows by putting it, he is subjecting himself to getting trolls telling him, तुझे क्या पता है ये वो
No,
random.
which happened, and my thing is again, it comes down to, of course, the news made it that you slammed Pushpa Makers. No, I did not. I slammed the system
Yeah,
for
you
what
did.
is actually
You did,
happening.
of
There's a bit of a
course.
difference over there.
Of course.
No, but even people are saying, but no, it's demand and supply. I said, nahi yaar, this is not demand and supply. There's something called monopoly as well. You can't monopolize theatres to this extent and multiplexes. Then you shouldn't have broken the single screens in the first place, na yaar. तुमने जाके तोड़ दिया. But you want to create single screen cinema into multiplexes, where the whole idea of a multiplex is to be able to have
Multiple
multiple kind of
films.
things. I guarantee you of those 36 shows, 5 are going empty. वो 500 दे दो किसी और को.
You mentioned about working with stars, right? All of you have tried to do different things with the star that you all have also been. You know, there is ego management, what I've heard directors saying that in some cases, you will have to have a very honest discussion with the actor. In some cases, the star is absolutely okay being what you want the person to be. Anurag gave a very interesting interview to me a while back where he said, I cannot work with stars anymore because I don't want to take that pressure. I don't want to take that pressure. It's heartbreaking for me, you know, because I don't blame them. I don't want to do it anymore. I want your opinions on this conversation of the point that he made. Have you all felt that? Have you been in a situation where you're so frustrated? Anurag went on a break for a while at that time when he was talking to me about this. And you of course know it.
Personally, no, I know. I haven't worked with as big a star as Kabir has. But I personally have, I mean, whether Ranveer Saif, Sonakshi, Ananya, Rajkumar, Anil Kapoor. I've had a great working relationship with all of them. I think that and I know Anurag's trauma was a little different when it came to
Yeah, of
Bombay.
course.
But it wasn't about the star. I think it was the expectation of the expectation everybody put on him.
On him, exactly.
In that moment, studio, producer, public, press.
And I'm asking that.
I've had a great working. I think because
Sure.
end of the day, at least in my experience, when a movie star comes on a set, they are an actor, and that's all they are. And they are there on the day to work as hard as you are working to be able to deliver what they want to deliver, because that's what. I think the rest of the management is a question of sort of setting expectations right in the beginning, which I've never had a problem with in the first place. I mean, so I'm the wrong person to answer this.
No, sure, Kabir.
No, even I've had actually a good experience with them. I think a star, yes, sometimes come with trappings and the logistics of a film increases and all that, but then they also compensate by bringing a bigger budget to the table for those trappings.
Sure.
And if a star truly believes in your story, there can be no better collaborator. And sometimes that doesn't happen. Sometimes there is a struggle, sometimes there is, and I've spoken about this where during Ekta Tiger, Salman and I had lots of differences because the first time, you know, I was working with him, I was just 2 films old, he had a different vision, I had a different vision. But that tussle was very beneficial for me in my career because that tussle also led to a Bajrangi Bhaijaan. That tussle led to the two of us understanding each other. And therefore then doing a film where a star like Salman actually came out of the mold that he was used to and believed in this small little story and did it exactly the way I wanted him to do it. And when that happens, then, you know, is when magic like Bajrangi happens. Because see, I'm saying Bajrangi is a lovely story, and had I taken a lesser known star or a smaller sort of star in stature, the film would also have been, you know, would have done well. Would it have become the monster it went on to become? No. Because Salman takes you into that space which only a superstar can. So my experience also with the stars has been, I mean, I still even the way Ranveer approached 83, he was completely sort of surrendered and, you know, did exactly what was expected of him to play Kapil Dev. Went the extra mile, in fact, you know, to be able to train and play cricket for 4 hours, 5 hours a day. or even for a Karthik at a time when he was mostly doing sort of romantic comedies and all, I suddenly gave him a film where there was, you know, none of the trappings of those kind of films, and said, okay, I will give you 1.5 years to go from 29% body fat to 8% body fat. I will do that for the role.
Sure.
So I must say, at a personal level, I've never had that problem. I've never
been able to
ever
navigate
repented like, oh, why did I do this film with a star? I think they've always helped get the film more attention, and they have more or less in my films fallen in line with what I wanted them to do. You know, even when Kareena Kapoor was coming off this huge success of A Singer's King, walked into the sets of New York and suddenly was a film where she was not singing, not dancing, wanted her to speak in an accent. She did it. And it got her also a lot of attention, of course got me a lot of love for the film in New York. So I would say that I've really enjoyed working with the stars, and I don't, I wouldn't subscribe to the thing that if you stay away from the stars, it's better to do your films.
I think more than the star, it was basically the trapping of the system that comes along with the star.
That is definitely there, but that's coming with now lesser stars also.
Yeah, I don't think Anurag mentioned it, he said that I can't take it anymore. It's for my own mental health.
And it's a very personal thing. I think at the end of the day, it's a very personal approach
of course.
to your filmmaking.
Sir, I want your opinion on this.
I don't have much experience of this, but
Except for that one film.
two films.
That he's not going to talk about.
I look for actors. You know, I want somebody who is willing to trust me, trust the process, trust the film, and surrender to it.
Sure.
So that could be a star, that could be anybody. You know, when I was making a film called Shahid, nobody wanted to do the film with me. No actor wanted to work with me. This boy called Rajkumar was pushed into my office by Anurag and Mukesh Chabra. Can you meet him? I said, I don't have money to make a film with this guy called Rajkumar. He came in and he came with that surrender. He said, sir, kuch bhi kar dunga main. So he gave me the courage. See, we work together. It's a collaborative thing. He gave me the courage to make that film in 35 lakhs. He said, we'll do it. Sir, मेरे को costume मैं जाके खरीद लूँगा कुरला से. I'll buy my own costumes. I don't need makeup. So we shot with a unit of 10 and made the film. So that kind of collaboration. So you look for that. See, I took that sabbatical from filmmaking in my 30s. You know, I just said I don't want to do anything right now because I don't know if I'll fit into the system. And I came back just wanting people to surrender selflessly, without ego. So if you come without that ego and the vanity on the set towards your character, everything else outside is fine. I also love cars, I love sneakers, I love all that. But that does not come into your performance, into your character.
Sure.
You know, those things. I like good food. But all that is outside. These are external factors. That's how I live my life. But that character has a life and all of us have to live it together. You know, so you have to give yourself completely to that. Submit yourself. So I am looking for that submission. So you tell me between Kareena and Rajkumar or Manoj Bajpayee or even Kangna, all of them surrendered to their character.
Agreed.
You know, sometimes I surrendered to the actor also, but that's fine.
I love Hansal sir.
When you do films, there has to be a clarity of intent. Why are you making the film?
True.
Across the board,
100%.
from the producer to the person who's kind of acting in it, and sometimes they're not aligned. ज़्यादातर प्रोजेक्ट बनते हैं, फिर फिल्में बनती हैं, बट जब फिल्में भी बनती हैं तो उसमें भूख सबकी इक्वल नहीं होगी ना, तो प्रॉब्लम होगा. तब वो स्टार आपको स्टार लगेगा. लेकिन अगर स्टार की भूख भी मेकर जितनी है ना कि इससे मेरे को यार आई वांट टू डू दिस, देन यू विल सी हिम पुट दैट. लाइक ही सेड, राजकुमार, इफ यू आर हंग्री एज एन एक्टर and stars are made out of films. Nawazuddin Siddiqui became a star from Gangs of Wasseypur. So now suddenly if you say ki now I want to take Nawazuddin Siddiqui and make Mission Impossible, it will not work. Because it's not aligned.
So true.
But if a producer tells you कि नहीं यार इसको भी किसी में भी ले ले, अभी मैं करता हूँ, and the maker feels that I really want to make a film, and the star then is feeling like, okay, I am getting a lot of money, this film is happening because of me, I will come when I want to come. Then the interests are not aligned. So unless all of that kind of functions properly, we'll always have this problem. And that's why sir would not feel that Salman sir was like a, because he behaved in that because Bajrangi Bhaijaan was a beautiful film, and he saw that.
Yeah.
But sometimes stars also will do films because I have to keep working. This is another one. It pays the bills. I don't really believe in it, but I'll go. But then there is a problem. Then that star becomes a burden on that film. So that's why I feel with different directors, different producers, different actors, experiences will always be different on different films.
True.
And if the hunger is equally shared, then you can make a great film in less money and it'll look amazing.
And I also feel that, you see, you have to make it possible. If I find that Kunal is the right guy for a particular film, that I want to work with him, and the producers के budget नहीं है Kunal के साथ, तो जो budget नहीं है, there must be some money to make the film. I'll make it in that money. How do you make that possible? See, the objective has to be to make the film possible, not to make it possible with all the, you know, sometimes the star can be a compromise. The star will compromise your film, your vision. So how do you make it with that honesty? And you should be willing to go in for that kind of a sacrifice. I mean, I made a film called Faraz. Straight after Scam became a big success. I had signed a very big film, but I purposely did that. I said that film has to be done with newcomers. It has to be done with new people, and it was there to also ground me. That I wanted to make a film in less than 10 crores. I wanted it to, come out in the theatres, and I wanted to find more actors. You know, what happens is this whole ecosystem. No, there are stars. There are only 7 stars. If as an independent filmmaker you don't feed the system with more talent, you see, where has Nawazuddin come from? Where has Manoj Bajpayee come from? Where has Rajkumar come from? If some of us did not take the punt on these actors, they wouldn't have been there to feed the mainstream.
Yeah, 100%.
You know, so this is an interdependence. My film's revenue might not be Stree's revenue, but Rajkumar is there in Stree because he did a Shahid, because he did a Love, Sex or Dhoka.
100%.
So, you know, you need to look at the system as a whole. And unfortunately, that vision people have to understand that. You have to understand that every kind of film is necessary for the ecosystem to thrive.
Before I move on to my next, I want to also say your actors have really been thankful to you and Excel. Because they're like, they stood by us. They have such meaty roles. It could have been a point where they would have said कि यार बड़े actors जो बहुत अच्छा comedy करते हैं उनको ले.
There have been multiple directors who've kind of expressed the want to work with me as an actor, but have faced that problem because it's not been viable. And I've often, I would feel really bad if I couldn't work with the actors that I wanted to work with, and I fell prey to the same thing. So I think across the board, whether you call it a sacrifice or whatever it is, you have to do those. You have to stand your ground. And like I said, it's not going to be easy for everybody because finances, economics are very different. Who gets paid? There's a big pay, divide. Not just across genders, but across the same gender in different places you're in, where they categorize you. So sometimes you have to put yourself at a discomfort to kind of stand up for what you believe in. And not always will it pay off.
Yeah.
You'll only know that 1 million story check from Jim Carrey because he made it. There are a lot of people who must have written those checks and you don't know those stories.
Sure.
But somebody has to do it. And I completely agree with sir when he said that unless you provide more stars to the system, you will be at the mercy of these very stars who may not even be thankful for it.
Yeah.
And you might give them a great film and then again have to beg them. And I'm not saying to make make them a demon in any way.
Of course.
But every star has become a star because he's gone through this. So sometimes he's protecting himself. Saying that I've done the hard work, now I don't want to do it. Now you do the hard work. So that's why I said across the board. It's not going to be by producers need to change or actors need to change or directors need to change. It's a very wishful thinking, but if one person starts to do it, and I'm sure that people here at least are doing it, it'll somewhere kind of start to bear fruit.
It was very heartening. See, Pratik had a breakout with Scam in 2020. But then there was a gap. So I went to watch the film in the preview. I enjoyed the film. Then I went with my family to the theatres and watched it. And I saw, how people were responding to those scenes, how they were responding to the actor. And, I see him on roundtables today and all. It just makes you feel that, okay, that here is one more actor that you have given to the system. It's very
and I wouldn't have found him. I saw him in Scam.
Yeah.
And I was like, he's perfect for my part, and I wanted a Gujarati actor to kind of play that.
And that's where, a producer like Sameer of Applause, when we were making Scam, it was very easy. Hansal Mehta, there were names that were thrown around. Get this one, get that one. I went with this clip from a film called Wrong Side Raju.
Yeah.
Showed it to him. He says, go with him. And that was it. You know, that kind of intelligence. And it's very simple intelligence. It is not even vision or any of those things. It's basic intelligence that, you know, he's right for the part.
Yep.
Go ahead, do it. It's going to be cheaper to make it with him. And, you know, those gambles pay off.
I mean, you see the biggest superhero films in the West. None of them are stars.
Yeah, yeah.
You don't make a Spider-Man with a Tom Cruise.
Exactly.
You get a Tobey Maguire and
Yeah, yeah, 100%.
Iron Man. Even Deadpool. Ryan Reynolds was not like a celebrated star until he came with this and that. So you get the right actor for the right job. Actors are merely spare parts. So if you have to empower the maker. That's what I always say. Writers also. I think writers are hugely underpaid and underappreciated, and they're starting to abandon the job. And that's where
So true.
everything is.
But that's been true of the Hollywood system for I mean, Independence Day when it was made with Will Smith. You know what I mean? Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. It's you're talking of taking Die Hard's been made with Bruce Willis.
Yeah.
You're taking them, but the film is more important than anybody else. And I think we still haven't learned that.
That ecosystem is, I mean, we have to face it that our ecosystem where we are all also, you know, involved in this. As audiences, we also don't approach films without stars the way we approach films with stars.
100%.
The attention that our audience gives to films with stars and the way they, you know, they'll wait for 10 days to be told that it's a good film and then they'll go and approach
But
it.
yet
What
we
surprises me is that Allu Arjun, I didn't know anything about him.
Yeah.
How did we, when I'm looking at the numbers that a Pushpa 2 is doing, or a Pushpa 1 did, I never knew much about, I knew that he had done that other film, Alive Vacant. That was all. I had not even seen the film. I visited it afterwards. But I was wondering, how did he become such a big star?
Because it's the Hindi numbers of a Bahubali, of an RRR, of a Pushpa, of anything coming, it's of a Kantara. Rishabh Shetty is nowhere near any of these guys as far as stardom is concerned, but yet the Hindi audience has gone and embraced it. So it's possible. It can happen.
possible.
Yeah.
It's not impossible.
You know, that's why when they say audience nahi dekhegi is a very wrong thing.
No, it's a audacity.
Exactly.
I think that audacity is important. Audacity and ambition is important.
Yeah, no, absolutely. We're talking about casting, so I want to ask one more question. I want to ask this. We're talking about how, you know, let's say Taapsee and Sonakshi, they were talking about their experiences in the way they have been casted. Like they were told, you work with superstars, you know, take a smaller roles kar lo, but then you will be recognized as a bigger star. And then when you do what you want to do and films that really matter, and you know, it'll work for you. But then they said that when they were being casted after that, they were told, अब तुमने बड़े उनके साथ हीरो के साथ किया, they are older. Now you are also older category. You now, the people who are actually still 5 years older to you actors are saying नहीं मैं भी बुढ़ा दिखूंगा उसके साथ करूँगी तो. So it was a fascinating conversation only to see that the kind of struggle in casting that women are facing. So they were like यार हमारी तो मतलब, you know, this is our struggle. Now if you want to do, and if you have, let's say, you know, like a Kareena, right? She's leading in Buckingham Murders. Very difficult to get an actor of, you know, I'm just saying star value because you exactly know what I mean. Actor of a star value to come and do like an interesting role. They will say, ये तो करीना की movie है, तो मैं तो second लगूंगा या. Just giving an example. Like Taapsee said, I've had people come and tell me that Taapsee की film है तो क्या हमको तो क्या ही role देंगे. While they said we are continuing to do this for the male actors, and I said that this kind of casting is making it very difficult for them. You all are directors, you all are part of the process. You all have seen it, and I'm sure you all understand where they come from. I would like your opinions on this discussion.
But sorry, you know, वो दोनों तरफ से होता है पहले.
हाँ, sure.
वो दोनों तरफ से होता है कि if there is a big star, you will find a trouble finding a bigger star to come and do a smaller part. But if you have a smaller star male, then you will have trouble getting a big star female coming and doing a smaller part in that.
But
So
women have done it way more.
I'm saying it's a personal thing. I'm
Yeah,
not saying
sure.
anybody is right or wrong.
Correct.
But मैं बोल रहा हूँ वो दोनों तरफ होती है.
होता
तो मैं
है.
इंडिविजुअली आपको अपनी प्रॉब्लम बता सकता
बोलो
हूँ.
ना.
लेकिन अगर नहीं, मैं आपको बता रहा हूँ कि मैं बता सकता हूँ कि मैं भी अभी कंप्लेन करूँगा कि मेरे डायरेक्टर ने मेरे साथ काम नहीं किया. बट वो जब मेरे को ये भी पता है कि डायरेक्टर को भी जब पैसे मिलेंगे तब पिक्चर बनाएगा. So I'm saying in that way, of course there is a divide. Television is hugely dominated by women. If you see all the shows, they're all women-centric shows, right? So now if you see the stardom there is going to be different. Within the films here, while we are having this problem of, yes, major people going and buying those tickets is a male audience, let's say in that number, so maybe that's why. But we've had films like Kahani and
Sure.
powerful women parts who've been bona fide stars, even Kareena Kapoor. But at the same time, like you said, कि अगर एक बड़ी हीरोइन कोई फीमेल सेंट्रिक पिक्चर कर रही है तो शायद बड़ा स्टार आके उसमें छोटा रोल नहीं करेगा. है ऐसी पिक्चर है जिसमें बड़े स्टार ने किए हैं, बहुत कम. वैसे मैं कह रहा हूँ, अगर बड़ी फीमेल स्टार कोई अगर छोटा स्टार एक्टर है और उसमें छोटा रोल है तो बड़ी फीमेल स्टार आके नहीं करेगी. तो वो कंप्लेन करने वाली बात दोनों तरफ से है.
Okay, fair.
So
Yeah, it's a very old thing. See, I did a film many years back with Mitunda.
Okay.
So he told me how many actresses refused to work with him. Mainstream big actresses refused to work with him as a hero at that time.
Sure.
So you see all his films, all those Gunmaster G9, all new actresses. So Ranjita, all these actresses emerged because none of the mainstream actresses of that time wanted to work with him.
Sir, even now,
Yeah.
I've heard people say this, that this actress won't work with this actor.
Yeah.
So, what I'm saying is, it's not a right or wrong, there's no demon in this. Everybody is trying to secure a longevity in this career.
Sure.
And there is certain math to it, and there are certain people who are advising you. And actors are very vulnerable people. So, sometimes you're going to safeguard yourself. और वही होता है जब मैं अपनी तरफ से ही देखूंगा ना, I will find the injustice to me, but I will not see the injustice that sometimes unknowingly also if I've done it to somebody else.
Fair point.
And yes, we all are asking for a fair playing field at the end of the day. But, and when we don't find answers, we say system. But we are also part of the system.
Yeah.
So at our level, if we are, I'm sure, I'm not saying that the actresses are
Sure.
if they are doing their part to kind of change that, they're setting the right example. So if all of us start doing that, hopefully for the next generation, if not for us, it'll happen.
Fair
When
point.
the day people start approaching films as characters and they say I'm playing a part, the length, there's the big problem is people keep looking कि मेरा कितना लंबा रोल है, am I the main guy? So this whole thing about hero and heroine, na, we have to break that.
Yeah.
You are protagonists in your own scenes. You are part of a bigger film. Matlab, the Marvel universe would not have happened otherwise. Matlab, you need to have all these people, stars have to be able to, we have to be more generous about the kind of parts we are ready to play. You can do 3 scenes. I always give an example. Satya Shefali did 3 scenes.
Yeah.
She won every award possible for that part. Nobody expected it, but she got that. But which actor would have done it? Any mainstream actor would have.
And sir, there's one thing that I kind of also realized when I was there. When you're a bona fide star, you're so secure that if you're asked to come and do a small part, you do it. But when you're somewhere in the middle, you're stuck कि यार, am I sending that message कि अब मैं ये कर रहा हूँ? And then you will stop seeing me as a leading man. Similarly for women also that happens. So sometimes you get stuck within that. कि मैं ये करके messaging, and that's why I said वो भूख की बात है. If as an actor, if I know that there is this project which is brilliant, great maker, great actors, I'm telling you everybody will do it. But ऐसा लगता है ना, ये उसको भी ऐसा लगता है मेरे को प्रोजेक्ट बना रहे मेरे साथ, तो मैं इसमें मिसयूज नहीं होना चाहता हूँ. उस वजह से भी लोग नहीं करते हैं कभी-कभी. तो मैं वही कह रहा हूँ, अगर सबके इंटरेस्ट और इंटेंट अलाइंड होंगे ना, you will see this industry will function in a very different way.
Wait, what are opinions on this?
I'm with both. I don't have a different opinion from this.
No, I think what they're saying is correct. I mean, just actors are so conscious of their positioning and image that what Kunal is saying is so correct. They'll even if the role goes just a little longer than what you can qualify as a cameo, they'll say, "अच्छा, special appearance मिलेगा? अरे यार role है, कर लो, मजा आपको भी अच्छा लग रहा है. You want to do it, but so then they want to justify. We did it as a special appearance. हमने the bigness of our heart we did it. So that's the problem. They're not approaching it like a character. They're always aware of positioning और लोग क्या कहेंगे. Unfortunately, the stars are most conscious that लोग क्या कहेंगे more than I would say.
कि मेरा मार्केट खत्म हो जाएगा कि मैंने छोटा रोल कर दिया तो. We are not able to cast two leading men together.
I think at a time, I want to live at a time where I don't have to keep telling women centric and women led also, but visual thinking.
Yeah, it's a story.
Honestly,
What is the story?
And we keep talking about the South. You look at Fahad Fasil. He's part of मतलब all kinds of films. Kumalangi Night से लेके even in Pushpa, he's in an Allu Arjun vehicle.
That's also another way.
I think we have to be more secure.
Yeah.
We actually are spoiled. We have enough. We get enough. I feel that for me, I get more than what I ever asked for in life. And I should be secure in that knowledge. Should be very secure in that knowledge.
Actors are in that sense like sportsmen now, sportswomen, where you feel that there's a limited time span to you. And I think that the tragedy is that I think that's more with women in the sense that there is a limited, that they feel that there's a limited time span. And it is true around the world. There's very few roles for older actresses. There's, older actors, you look at them, they've gone into your 5 out of your 6 biggest stars are still guys who were launched in the 90s. And they are still the biggest stars right now. Whereas the women, along with them, are not. And that's a tragedy. So there is that. And I feel that when everybody knows that you have a limited time span of stardom, then you want to make the most of it. And you don't want to... So, in a way, I don't blame them. And I know, and this used to be with Sonakshi as well. While she was doing Lutera, she was also doing Son of Sardar, she was doing films with Salman, she was doing that. And I think it was the same thing that she was going through at that time. Like, people are like, you need to be able to be with the bigger stars to be able to sort of like, have your career play out in a certain sort of way. But it's exactly what you said, is that after a certain point in time, then people are like, oh, but I can't cast you next to a younger actor. It's not possible. It's quite sad.
I think, unfortunately, in our industry, if you see, it's the more successful you become, the more safe you're playing. That's one of the tragedies of our industry, that the superstars at a time when they could do whatever they want, played safe. They could have broken the mold, gone into different directions. But they could have, if you say, I want to do this, everybody will follow them. But if you observe them, they started playing safe as they became more and more successful. They didn't want to break the norm.
I think Shah Rukh at a time really tried to break that with Swadesh and all of that. But I feel like, again, we as an audience didn't give that kind of love. I feel like it would have been a very different world.
But those are always be the trappings. Sometimes what you set out to make becomes bigger than you.
I think that's why we have to take pride in the film and not its collections. And it's as simple
well
as that.
Love is sometimes not immediate. It's not a question of love. वो एक महीने में नहीं आएगा. कभी भी 10 साल लगता है love को आने में for a certain film, and that's
and
okay.
you realize sometimes that if the film is being remembered after 10 years,
it's a big deal.
That's a big deal. So a lot of big earners don't get remembered 10 days after they've gone from the theatres.
I feel like you're also, I'm not saying you're thinking that you're creating a legacy, but you're also leaving behind a legacy.
Of course you are.
Like in a way or something. You want to be a part of, I think every person sitting here on this table I know, have you regretted doing a particular scene in a way, and when you rewatch it today, you're like, yaar, maine ye kyun kiya ya main alag karta. Are you that critical when you're seeing it? For Kunal, I think the question will only be with Madgaon. Like, have you looked at something and like, and then you kind of ponder over it over again. With you, it'll be a scene or something. With them, there are films. And would you have done it differently in a way? Even if you don't want to take names would be great if you want to. And what is it that it
pointing
didn't
to me.
Hansal, you actually have spoken the most. I think Vikram, my point is to. But no, generally, you got the question. It's, have there been films that you've looked at, you analyze, and you're like, I don't know what I was thinking. And would you do it differently today?
100%. A couple of films in my life, 100%. I would do it very, very differently today. But I'm saying that as I'm very self-critical. I don't know about. I know he is also as well. I have that feeling the next day after I've shot something. I go back and I say, "Yaar, wo shot kyun aise liya? I should have taken it that way." But you're in the moment and you sort of like do it. So there's layers of this. You after even shooting ke dauran hota hai, when you sit on the editing table, you get regrets in that moment. You have some regrets about casting. You're like, I should have not cast this person. I should have cast somebody else in this role. And then in a film, sometimes it happened to me a couple of times where it's 2 months after the film's release, and I'm just like, "Arey yaar, if I'd done that to that storyline, agar main wo karta to ye hota to wo hota."
मतलब ये कौन सी फिल्म है जो आप इतना सोच रहे हो?
Hey, Lutera. I had that moment in Lutera 2 months after release. I'm like, suddenly I'm like, "Arey shit, I should have." And I told Ranveer this. I said, I should have made the decision it should have been your decision to go to Dalhousie in the second half of the film. It should not have been the cop's decision to pull you in. And I'm like, that one small difference, one scene, it takes one scene, would have certainly made a big difference to the way the entire second half kind of like plays out in my mind. But ये तब वो चमकता नहीं है ना, वो 2 महीने बाद suddenly you're just like sitting in analysis and then it's like, but yeah, as far as that way, as far as
regret as such.
Regret, no, I do. And on one film, I won't say on one film I have a regret of who I cast in that film and the way I approached it. It was more about I should have taken a different. I should have made it a female lead instead of a male lead, and I still today feel that was a bad decision.
Very honest of you. Fair.
No, I totally agree with you. I think we are constantly always looking at work and saying, because see, also we are also evolving, right? So I'm not the person who made his first film. I'm not the person who made a film
course.
5 years ago. We all keep changing, we keep looking at stuff. And sometimes you look at it immediately and say, oh, I made a mistake. Sometimes you look at it after years and say, why did I do this? So definitely you're constantly critical of your own work, always wanting to change things, always questioning your decisions. Because sometimes you make decisions, it's a lot of directors' work is also gut instinct. We can sit at round tables and intellectualize our systems, right? I would say for me 80% is gut instinct. हाँ यार मुझे लग रहा है ये अच्छा है, ऐसे करना चाहिए. उस टाइम लगा, 2 महीने बाद लगेगा कि अरे यार ये क्यों किया मैंने? I made a mistake. It may be the portrayal's gone wrong, maybe the politics of the line that being said is not what it should have been. There's so many things you keep looking at. You look at the edit, you say, oh, I could have, let it breathe a little more, I could have paced it more. So it's a constant process.
Have you regretted doing a project?
I've never regretted. I think regret would probably be a strong word.
Finality हो जाता है.
But you question. ऐसे क्यों किया? I could have done it differently. Or if I'd done it this, I'm sure it would have been better.
Fair. Hansal.
Honestly, what happens to me is I watch somebody's work. Like say I watch a film Vikram makes.
Yeah.
I feel that I should have started making films after this. So I keep feeling that. Then I look back at my work. I say, I regret everything. I said, yaar, see this filmmaker. I see Vishal's films. And I say, yaar, I should have started making films after this. And I feel that. I love, competing. I create that competition within myself. I will watch his film and I go back very restless. I want to make a comedy. So that restlessness keeps me alive. That regret keeps. And my work, though, I actually am very afraid of watching it. Very afraid. I don't like it. I don't like it at all.
So after it's delivered,
it's over. I don't have copies. Sometimes
you like.
I have no copies. They now
Wow.
Netflix and all these guys ensure the copies are all over the
Wow.
place. They're in your face. Fortunately, pre-Shahid, those films are lost to the world, and they will never be. They will never be out.
But why, sir?
But there's like Anurag. I just met him at his daughter's wedding, and he came and said, "Sir, अपनी पहली film YouTube पर है." I said, "यार तूने why did you put it out there?" So both of us, we made a film in 96, 97 called Jayate. It was Anurag's first film as a writer. He gave me a 340-page script. I shot the whole film. I can see it. It was a nightmare editing the film. So I told Anurag, I said, do you realize कि पैसे एक तो थे नहीं फिल्म बनाने के, उसके ऊपर 340 पेज की फिल्म शूट कर ली बाद में मुझे बैठ के स्क्रीन में गए कटिंग ऑन फिल्म, मैं आई एम कटिंग ऑल एंड थ्रोइंग अवे सो मच ऑफ फिल्म कि अच्छा ये नहीं, ये हटाओ 1.5 घंटा मैंने काटा है फिल्म में से what were we thinking? So
Let me break the fourth one and say, you know what film to watch. Immediately after this.
Only on YouTube.
You know what film.
I've reported to YouTube. This is unauthorized.
Oh no.
Yeah, I said the title change karo. This is Anurag Kashyap. A film by Anurag Kashyap.
He's like, I don't take ownership of. Like.
But he had written scenes which were, we were so carried away. I had to keep changing magazines, 10, 12, 15 pages of monologues. And I also kept shooting it. I thought I was watching a play in Prithvi Theatre.
का भड़ास वहीं पे निकाल दिया
बहुत निकाल
You have made it Anurag's film. You have detached yourself.
No. It is very much my film. I mean, I own that film with all my heart, actually. Because of that, actually, the films that I regret making are the ones that have made me the filmmaker I am. They teach you so much. There are decisions you take that teach you about what you do now. Like Kareena in Buckingham Murders, there was should she have a British accent or not? I had made a film called Omerta, where Rajkumar had a British accent. So I saw that film, I said, there's no need for that accent. That accent is distracting. So I took that decision consciously. I said, the audience gets it. You don't need an accent to convince your audience. It's the character that should be convincing, not... So if you're able to convincingly put it in, fine. Otherwise, don't force feed it.
Sir, वो Slumdog Millionaire में देववटिल ब्रिटिश एक्सेंट बोल के ऑस्कर मिल गया पिक्चर
आपको एक पता मतलब गांधी रिचर्ड एटनबरो की गांधी में मोहनदास करमचंद गांधी ब्रिटिश एक्सेंट में बोल रहे हैं थ्रू आउट. यू कैन नॉट टेक मी आउट भैया. आई एम नॉट अ कूली.
If you're showing me a film and you're telling me कि ये let's say अभी गुजरात में है और what accent of the actor, maybe it's a brilliant, but that accent is so off that that person doesn't feel from it. It's a major problem for me personally. Maybe it's not for others.
Even for me, Gujaratis का misrepresentation as a Gujarati, I feel it's very, मतलब they all of them don't talk like that. I don't talk like that. I don't think so. Like you know, when I watch films where why are you pretending to be a Gujarati? This is a Hindi film. अब हिंदी में बात कर लो, I'll buy it. There was a film called Kaipoche, जिसमें all three boys were supposed to be Gujaratis. None of them had a Gujarati accent. Rajkumar to some extent had a Gujarati accent. Sushant or Amit Shah did not have a Gujarati accent. The story was what moved me. You don't need to do it. The Pratik is a Gujarati. We don't need to add more Gujarati to it.
Sure.
And के मतलब people write कि वो ऊंधियो खा रहा है. अरे भाई ऊंधियो we don't eat every day. We fall sick if I eat ऊंधियो every day.
It's something I can't move off. And
The stereotypes, मतलब even Bengalis, वो एक ही तरीके से बोलते हैं.
Oh my God.
कोई डिमांड वगैरह सर वो याद है आपको वो एक अर इतना वो फिर हर जगह पे वो ब्रांड मिल गया उनको पिक्चर में फिर गुजराती को अर बोलना पड़ेगा. So it's just चल रहा है वो
stereotype है वो stereotype.
वो पंजाबी कैरेक्टर आता है पीछे बैकग्राउंड में बल्ले बल्ले आता है.
All of them.
And then burra also comes.
South Indian.
But you know, I'll tell you what, which is it like some of us don't like it. Sometimes in the theaters when you go and see na, for the kind of film that you're making. Like if you're not making a slapstick comedies, you need to go all out because people are actually coming to enjoy that.
But I'm not talking about comedy at all.
Yeah, that's what that's what the problem.
I don't even.
I'll address it. मतलब see there's Ram Leela, okay, which is about Gujaratis set in Gujarat. None of it is authentic. Neither the accents, nor the place, nor the setting. But this is Sanjay Leela Bhansali. You're going to watch. It's almost magical realism. You know, it's his world. It's his world, and you are immersing yourself. That's the filmmaker's skill to sell me the world that I know, but make it a new world. So that you need to be a filmmaker of the skill of Sanjay Leela Bhansali to be able to sell that to me.
I agree.
Manoj, when we were doing Aligarh, Manoj told me that मैं Marathi accent नहीं लगाऊंगा. And speak normally. He worked with a Marathi coach. He used to listen to the language every day. He used to call somebody, tell him कि मेरे को poetry सुना. So Marathi poetry he would listen to every day, but he did not put on an accent. He said, I'm not good with accents. So he did not put on an accent. And we also discovered कि नागपुर में इतना accent है नहीं. It's very close to Madhya Pradesh.
I'm having too much fun. And this last segment is a favorite segment of mine. We call it Directors Asking Directors. As simple as thing. I'm going to ask you to pick anyone. You want to ask a question too specific or a generic question that anybody can answer. What would you ask your guests on the panel here?
I'll leave it open to all. Anybody can take it. Why are you guys not working with me?
Kunal, क्या मौका हमारा. This is amazing. I love it.
Put you in the spotlight.
We got into the lift, we arrived here, and I asked him, I said, "तू करेगा?" And he said, "नहीं मैं कर रहा हूँ, I'm busy. February से busy."
अच्छा. मैंने बोला छोड़ दूँगा.
Netflix सुन रहे हो?
Good one. Look at you.
इसके बाद क्या पूछेंगे?
But that's see, so collaboration can happen.
इधर आके I told him. मैं सर क्या करूँ?
Kunal, you're not giving dates to sir?
He's
I know. Okay. We'll come back to you if you have any other.
Yeah.
Vikram,
I'm waiting. You all can ask other questions.
That's again two.
if you want to make it specific, you can.
No, not specific. I just think that it's a generic, and I think it's a question also in the sense to us, and I think only also because Kabir and Hansal over here is that how do we make? We are all political people in the way we want, and I think the cinema that we know, the way it is, it has been slightly restricted. What is? Are we going to stop making political cinema completely? Are we going to go the way of Iran? Is there a third way that we haven't kind of like? What's the or is there something we should just ignore right now, not actually say what we're going to do?
Excellent question. Thank you.
No, I think it's a very valid question.
Yeah.
It's a question that we keep thinking about. So definitely, because as Vic said, if you're political and there's always some politics in your film, and what people don't understand is that the politics of a film is very misunderstood also.
Yeah,
People just think of
the
politics, is
word.
it about, it's anything is politics. The
Sure.
way you frame
Your beliefs, your ideologies, they're
characters,
all a part
what
of-
people are
yeah.
saying it's all your politics. And I think without your politics, what's the point of making the film? So it's very important, but it is definitely something that one has to keep thinking about now how to present it, because the problem is not about what you want to say, but is it going to unnecessarily create a problem that will become then an impediment to the release of your film, or others who are invested in the film will have a problem with, and that's something that you have to constantly, that tussle is going on. And I don't think I have an answer to it. I think one just has to find a way to say it. But what is very important is you have to find the way to say it. Because I don't think the solution is, okay, let's not say it. Because I think then you're killing yourself as a filmmaker. You're killing your why you became a filmmaker. We have to just find ways, I guess, how to say it. And sometimes, it doesn't have to be in a confrontational manner. Sometimes it's actually said the best through humor, through a way where people cannot stand up and say, "Hame ye bura laga," but can make them think, "Oh, ye baat isne boli hai, it's worth thinking about."
Sure.
So yeah, but that's a constant, I think, definitely a constant struggle today.
Well answered.
I find times of adversity the best. Whenever you feel that things are, going, there's a time of adversity, your antenna is up. You want to say a lot of things, and this is your only outlet. And you find ways of doing it. And the intention is not to offend somebody. The intention is not to, create this kind of sensation. The intention is how do you tell your story.
Yeah.
Like, it's a secret, but it's been there in many reviews also. I made Faraz about a majoritarian country, about youth in a majoritarian country. So people saw it as, okay, why have you made Muslims like this? It was not about Muslims. That in a majoritarian country, when the majority becomes the oppressor, when they start, pushing that dogma down your throat, there will be anarchy. And so that was the attempt. So that was, you sort of find ways and means to rebel. A lot of reviews got that I was trying to do that. So you find ways of telling those stories. I had a similar kind of angle in Buckingham Murders. Within the communities, there are these polarizations. So you express them, and honestly, nothing really went. Nobody objected to it. At CBFC also, the only time they objected in Faraz was there was the handler, and it was documented. The handler's name was Rajiv. So they said, why have you given a Hindu name? So I was told also for it. Why is the handler a Hindu? It's there in the book. It's a Bengali book. I gave them a Bengali book, marked all the Rajiv passages, and I said, please read it. They didn't read it, of course.
Of course.
But they certified the film. So I think you have to find a way.
Yeah.
We must realize that things are not that bad. Things are not that bad. We feel that, it's doomsday. No, it's not.
I think it's also like you got to adapt, right? It's called the creative flow. So if you have an obstruction, you find a way, otherwise you stagnate, right? But at the same time, I feel that while we're adapting, it's also important for makers also, I feel, it goes both ways, because we can't speak for every filmmaker, right?
Sure.
So politics of every filmmaker will be very different.
Correct.
What is your reason for telling the film? Is the politics the reason for telling the film?
Exactly.
Or politics is a part of the story that I want to say? Besides that, I think the filmmaker who's making it also has to take the responsibility of completely educating himself. It can't be, I read one article one day and now this is my belief, so I'm going to put it there. At the same time, the audiences time and time again need to be educated, or they need to know that this is a work of fiction. It's not a documentary. So when it's a work of fiction, it's your choice. You don't buy that ticket and go. So you can't get so affected by it. It's like when Animal came out, there was this big debate about this is what it is. I said, if you are going to buy a ticket to get entertained, you can leave that theatre at any point of time, which I've done. Sometimes I bought a ticket, didn't like the film, in the interval left. I'm not going to say I want to kill this maker, or why did this actor do this? I can't believe he did this. Because it's not his job to educate you. His job is to entertain you.
Sure.
When we're talking about entertaining films, right? So if he's doing that, he's reaching his audience. So I think it works both ways. Now there is a third party involved of the unknown people who can, you know, sometimes dictate what is in the film or not. That I'm saying that's separate. Between the audience and the makers, that relationship needs to be very clear.
Also, art and politics. So you, as an artist, you find an artistic way to do it. Use your art to say what you want to.
It has to be in the layers beneath anyway. It can never be sort of in your face.
You cannot separate it. If somebody says I'm apolitical, you cannot be in today's world. All of us.
That statement itself is a very political statement.
Exactly.
Technically,
क्योंकि आप इतने privileged हो कि आपको दुनिया में क्या हो रहा है कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता. आप हो सकते हो.
तो फिर आप आर्टिस्ट कैसे हो?
तो सर मेरा एक सवाल है उसमें कि मैं कह रहा हूँ कि सपोज हम जैसे गोलमाल एक टेम्पलेट यूज करता हूँ, उसमें तो कहीं पॉलिटिक्स आता ही नहीं.
Politics are also, interpersonal. कि the way I approach disability,
right?
The way I approach the other opposite gender, the way I approach a gay character, उन सब चीज़ों में मेरे politics आते हैं.
अच्छा वैसे
इनफैक्ट मुझे लगता है कि
Personal
ह्यूमर में
ideologies.
सबसे ज़्यादा पॉलिटिक्स होते हैं.
Identity, how you approach
Most
identity
political.
it's very political.
okay.
So वो हमारे everything that we do, the way we treat our children, the way we are with animals, everything, is a reflection of our politics.
So that's also nice because I'm saying for viewers also, like I was also trying to understand when you say politics of a
Correct.
film, what does it encapsulate?
The way you frame your actress is your politics.
Exactly.
Your gender
Okay.
politics.
So yes, that is what we're talking about.
Is
Because
the
you're right.
gaze-
And unless we kind of specify that, it just seems that we're talking about where we right, left,
And
center,
it's,
where do we
like
stand.
you said, sometimes it's not about, see, there's no problem with being violent. You can be as violent as you want in your film. It's at the end of the day, what is the director saying about that violence? Is he celebrating and glorifying that violence?
But, so, okay. So how would you then say, like, what is Scarface for you, for example?
Yeah, correct.
Because then, so like, what did you take away from that?
I thought at the end of the film, I thought it's a miserable life.
Sure, great.
And there
Okay.
was no celebration of the violence. There was no glorification of the violence. It was as violent as you can get. But at the end of it, you say, what a life.
Okay.
But even Joker.
I didn't come back saying, "Arey kya banda tha."
Correct. I get that.
But even Joker.
But some people would have done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why.
But because it's interesting, that's why I asked you, because again, this is something that I read and somebody told me, was that the crime level and the incarceration became so much higher after this because everybody wanted to become Tony Montana. So it did kind of glorify it for certain kind of age group. And I think it's also the maturity of the audience that is going to watch it. It's going to have a different effect at an 18-year-old than a 40-year-old.
How the audience takes it away, you can never control. But you can pretty much see the director's point of view in a film.
No, but that's what I'm saying. As an 18-year-old, you may not. Because I'm saying even when we were growing up, I remember going to Delhi and watching Gadars and Ghataks and Ghayals. And in the interval, you would have people fighting.
Yeah.
Because it kind of got that. Like I said that recently also when I saw Animal, and I loved the first half. When that action sequence got over, I felt like there was an adrenaline rush in me that I wanted to get rid of. And that's where I thought, like, if this is doing to me, what would it do to a 20-year-old?
But that's the thing, that's the important thing, that if it provokes people to react, to disagree, I think you have done something important.
Exactly.
That whatever you have made is provoking some sort of discussion, debate. Otherwise,
That's what I'm saying. Isn't it better to have that as opposed to somebody where you watch a film and then you feel nothing?
you're passive.
No, obviously.
And then you just
That also can
Definitely.
happen.
See,
That also
and
can
at the
happen.
end of the day, who are we to say what are the correct politics?
Sure.
Right.
We are not saying what is the wrong politics, right politics. What we're saying is that the filmmaker will always have politics, and then you can always say, I don't agree with it and I agree with it.
Correct, of course.
As long as that
But that's
filmmaker's
art.
politics
That's,
are coming.
that's how art is, yeah.
You see the, like,
I'm just saying-
Paranjit's films.
Yeah.
They are the most political films I've seen when they are mainstream films with Rajnikant as the hero. Caste politics, but
Yeah.
the way he it's right out there.
100%.
So we can't shy away from it. Okay?
But yeah, the point is not that whether if somebody wants to make a film only for entertainment,
It's fine.
absolutely. You
Fine.
make only, but what I'm saying is, उसमें आपके politics होंगे.
Exactly.
Correct.
That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. क्या
सोच
लेकिन
रहे
you
हो
can't say, अरे why are you making film only time? अरे अगर मुझे film बनानी है, just pure entertainment, I want to make it. It's great, and the audience might also love it or might hate it. But उसमें भी मेरी politics तो आएंगे ही आएंगे.
100%.
Very often. You don't wear it on your sleeve.
बहुत है.
हाँ बहुत है, बहुत है.
You also don't wear it on your sleeve.
Yeah,
It's
that's the
something-
best part.
Yeah.
It's in the layers.
It comes through your work, through your expression.
Your person.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, I think for filmmakers, our films are a reflection of a person. Ultimately, what is it? It's a reflection of what we've experienced, read, seen, heard. वो सब का निचोड़ हमारे script
I
में
will
आ
always
जाता है.
connect with the audience that kind of.
It's very personal.
Yeah.
It's ultimately a very personal experience. Dr. Zhivago is not a. Is it a political film or is it a love story? You know, what is it? It's a love story, but with the Russian Revolution and वो public and personal का ना, that's the whole thing.
Yeah.
Ultimately, it's about people.
100%.
Class
Sir,
over.
हाँ बट देखो सर आप बहुत अच्छा बोल रहे हो. आप भी दोनों को सवाल पूछना है. अभी सर आपका सवाल.
Well, my question is that you know, like Vikram, I have always said this, that Vikram constantly, every film is different from the previous one.
Yeah.
He is trying something new. Is it? Is that limiting? That you know you don't want to do the same thing again. Is that a limiting thought? That every time you might want to make Lutera again, that kind of a film again, but because you have decided to make something different, is that a?
No, I've not decided anything. I think like it's in that moment, the excitement that kind of like drives you in that moment to go and do something. I think, and then when you're setting yourself up for a challenge to be able to go out there and do that. Eventually, I will be doing a season 2 of Jubilee and a season 2 of like there will be those things. You go back into that world and you sort of reset yourself into that world, but you set up new challenges for yourself. I just love the idea of. I think when you're a fan of many different genres of filmmaking now, automatically you start to want to. I love the superhero genre, therefore Bhavesh Joshi. I love the coming of age genre, therefore Udan. I love the screen life genre, therefore Control. Like I love that whole meta-ness of AK versus AK because I just felt that that's another unexplored kind of thing. And I love dramas, like the classic sort of like streaming drama of our generation that's sort of like come. Therefore, the interest level in doing a Sacred Games or a Jubilee or a Black Warrant all comes from. It comes from just a genuine fandom of this kind of stuff. But I'm not. But I think it's also like I grew up loving the films of the late 80s, early 90s. That's like Terminator 2, Back to the Future, Die Hard. I think when in the 90s, where a lot of us, when the DVDs kind of first came out, Anurag ke ghar pe baithe baithe, where we ended up seeing the Finchers of the world and the Tarantinos of the world, that revelation to us. That was for me the cinema that I wanted to be able to make, but you couldn't make it in India at that point in time. So you've been at some point in time. I think today maybe we can. I think there's a chance for us to be able to say make pure genre, stuff that I think that can be done right now. So I think maybe it's just me. Also part of this is also me kind of like trying to find my little like niche voice, whatever.
So some of them saw Control like a horror story. They
It
were
is
like,
a
bro,
kind of fun, actually.
this is not just a drama.
Yeah,
this
it's
is
like
a horror.
Black Mirror-ish sort of horror,
and and they actually said, and I feel like it's working what you're trying to convey. So then you want to try more stuff. You're like, isn't it? It's an encouragement.
It's also an encouragement. I think selfishly there's a sense of because I can get away with it on a certain budget with a certain story with a certain kind of movie star, I can get away with it, and I'm making the most of that. Right? So it's like you can do it. Ananya Pandey. It's like, here's an idea, are you interested? And yes, I am definitely interested. And hats off to her for being interested and turning it around in 2 days. Where she's like, I'm on, let's do it. Or to Anil Kapoor for an AK versus AK. I was petrified before giving him the script. I'm like, he's going to throw me out of his house. He's going to slap me.
You thought that?
I really thought that, I said, because you're taking the piss, in a certain sort of way. But for him to sort of come around 2 days later and saying, let's do it, I'm excited. You know what I mean? So I think there's a certain... There is a little bit of... And I'll make the most
Vikram,
of
is one of the most inspiring filmmakers we have today, just simply because he's pushing that envelope for other filmmakers to sort of want to do that. So there's an aspiration that you want to do so many things in one lifetime. I have not done horror, so much I have not done, and you keep feeling that maybe I want to do that. I have one more question for Kunal. Which part would you have cast yourself in Madgaon Express? Which was your part?
I don't know
But
for
I love
myself.
Dodo, na?
Dodo?
I don't know for myself. लिखा ही था मैंने अपने लिए. तो फिर जब डायरेक्टर बन गया तो फिर कहा
But no, you can't direct yourself.
ना the first one I didn't want to risk it मैं producer भाग जाते मैं डर के बोले इसको
No, actually, that was going to be my, because I'm always fascinated by directors' first films. My question was also going to be for Kunal, whether you at some point felt ki, yeah, why don't I just, such a lovely script, why don't I act in it?
No, I didn't need to act in it only because direction was never on the cards. So I wrote Dodo's part to be the actor and then I wrote other parts.
And you thought somebody else will direct it?
Yeah, of course.
So
That's how
what
I
gave you
pitched
the
it.
confidence to be a director? Where did you suddenly, where's that moment where you said, yeah, मैं करता हूँ?
Yeah, you know, honestly, as convoluted as it may sound, I never, because again, we were talking about perceptions and where you are in life and what message you're sending outside. I didn't want to seem like ki, oh, because things are not going so well now, he's trying to venture into different things and send a message like that. So I just thought that if I have to eventually direct, if I have to say no to work as an actor, ताकि market में ऐसा नहीं लगना चाहिए कि you know ये give up कर गया ये क्योंकि पता नहीं if this will work or not. So in 2016 also I was offered to direct this film, but then I didn't. But then when eventually with Excel again, then we were looking at directors and they were saying, should you play Pinku's part or Dodo's part? And I was like, I think Dodo will be better. I really think a Gujarati actor, Pratik, should play that part. And while those narrations were happening, one day they, again, because Rucha was involved, she said, I've been telling him he should direct it, and Ritesh said that, listen, we've heard it and you see it so clearly and we've worked with new directors and so that gave me confidence because when I saw them saying, and by then obviously because I'd seen this film clearly in my head so many times, I was like, yeah, opportunity won't come knocking again and again and I should, you know, give it a shot and see if I can do this. And that's why I didn't want to burden the first one only being an actor because I didn't know what the experience would be on set. But I really enjoyed it. And now I feel slightly more comfortable that in the future at some point I might do that.
It's fascinating to have to direct yourself. No? I don't know how that happens. How Guru Dutt did that.
Ajay, we've learned a lot about this after. But you know, we always ask directors this when you all do acting. Some parts if you do and stuff. Ki, what I don't know, Hansal sir.
You have acted.
You have.
Devanand's film. His last film, Charge Sheet.
Really?
Big part.
Now you know what to watch again. Rewatch it.
Watch it. That was
Double
well,
bill.
Rajkumar went first day, first show to watch Charge Sheet so that he could take the piss out of it. It was also dubbed by somebody else. So my voice sounds very weird.
So,
ये लड़की कहाँ से आई?
but you know, we always ask directors though, when you all do little acting parts, did it help you being a director, or are you trying to like? I remember they were asking Konkana this also, one of the actors on the table, that you know, can you switch off your director mode, or you know, like can you switch off your actor mode when you're directing and stuff like that? And directors could they say,
I've never acted. I've only acted in my film school because obviously you have to act in each other's films.
No, I was thinking,
so acting kari, but
correct. I'm saying we ask directors if they do a part, na, ki, did it help being a director?
You acted, no? You then Yellow Boots में था ना तू?
Yellow Boots नहीं, मैं अपना इसमें था. No smoking में.
No smoking में, हाँ, he was in no smoking.
But I want to ask you this: does it help the tools that you have as an actor when you are doing your first direction?
100%.
Huh?
100%.
And can you tell me how?
More importantly, how
Which
to
is
interact with actors. Because, you know, I saw that, like when I was growing up, there are actors, directors, and then there are directors who are very much, then they depend on good actors.
Correct.
Because they don't know, sometimes they just don't know how to communicate to, because they can't act, right?
Sure.
So sometimes they're like, कि मुझे अभी इसमें anger चाहिए, लेकिन कितना चाहिए, they may not be able to tell you that. So I've seen a lot of times, because I've worked with other actors also who come back and said कि मेरे को नहीं पता ये क्या चाहता है यार मेरे से. And then I was like, oh, acha. So that bit I got clear with all my actors because I said, you tell me. Like for example, Divyendu has a different method of acting. Pratik has. So I understood where each actor is and how much guidance they need and how much free hand to give them. And then there are certain actors who really want to show them exactly what you want, and then they follow that. So that I think did help me with actors.
but at some level I think all directors are actors.
Yeah,
Because वो to have that eye कि ये यही correct portrayal है या नहीं also needs a little bit of an actor in you.
Is there a hidden project you're telling us about? Let me break the fourth wall again for you, Kabir.
मैं भी बोलता हूँ मेरे साथ फिर
But I'm closing it. You have the most. You want to give an answer to him?
What?
Arey, I'm fielding for you, Kunal.
नहीं
knows
मतलब
about-
you know what मतलब Netflix.
नहीं मैं theatrical के भी free हूँ.
मेरे साथ तो कोई बना है.
On that note, thank you so much. It's truly been such an honor to be moderating this because you all have, as honest your work is, even you're honest people. Thank you for being here and thank you for creating the magic, keeping it alive for all of us. I think we all will always look forward to the work that you're creating, the films that you're making because we love the films and we want to see more of them. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And
Thank
we
you.
must, you're like, okay, awkwardly. But it is, I think we should all again clap. I want to clap for you all. So,
We'll clap for
if you want to join,
We'll clap for you.
thank you once again.
Thank you, Zira.
Thank you.
Thank you.